Hello everyone, welcome to Live Interactive English. Wait, that was more Scottish than Irish. I can't really do Dublin. I can do more of a Northern Ireland accent, but we don't want to do that because we're not talking about Northern Ireland, we're talking about Ireland and specifically the beautiful capital city of Dublin.
Dublin.
Have you ever been to Ireland, either Northern Ireland, which of course is part of Britain, or the southern part, the Republic of Ireland? Have you been to the Emerald Isle, this beautiful green island there? No?
wish.
You gotta go. It's fantastic, beautiful countryside, amazing people, wonderful things to see and do. And of course, Dublin is a great place to start. It's the capital, and it's a place I've been lucky enough to go. I think I was there 2 times.
Oh, wow.
I ate in a castle, which was really cool. And then the second time I went to see a very unique sport that's only played in Ireland.
What is it called?
It's called hurling.
What's that?
H-U-R-L-I-N-G.
Sounds like you're throwing something that swings.
You are kind of throwing things, and you have a stick, and you have a helmet, and people jump and run and hit things. And I watched this sport when I was 12 or 13, and I immediately went, this is the greatest sport in the world. You can play it on a field. It's violent like ice hockey. It has running. You bounce the ball on the end of your little stick, so it takes a lot of skill. There's ways to score that would just blow your mind. Anyway, so there's a lot of things to discover in Ireland and Dublin that would be very unique, very special, and maybe found only there. Things like hurling, and of course the great famous Guinness beer, and all sorts of things we're going to be learning about as we look at the top 4 things to do in Dublin. And I don't think going to a hurling match is in the top 4, so maybe we should make it top 5. But anyway, let's check out the top 4. Dublin is the capital of Ireland. It is located on the island's east coast, and it is a popular travel destination. Let's take a look at some things to see and do in Dublin. 1. Visit Trinity College. Trinity College Dublin was founded in 1592 and is Ireland's oldest university. The most famous part of this beautiful college is the Old Library. The library houses the Book of Kells, which is an ancient collection of medieval art and stories about the life of Jesus Christ. And some say this library was the inspiration for Hogwarts in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter books.
Okay, let's read about Ireland. Dublin is the capital of Ireland. It is located on the island's east coast, and it is a popular travel destination. Let's take a look at some things to see and do in Dublin. All right, so we have this main city called Dublin in Ireland, and that is also the capital, or the capital city. So the capital city is the first city people think of when they travel to. It is the main city that the government puts a lot of focus on, and there are also a lot of tourists there and big buildings. It's a very popular destination. For example, when we think of Taiwan, our capital city is Taipei. When we think of Germany, the capital city is Berlin. Okay, so I have an example sentence for you. Many people think that Toronto is the capital of Canada, but it's actually Ottawa. Yeah, that's true, huh? Some people don't even know or haven't heard of Ottawa.
That's true. Well, the capital is where the government will be based. It's where the president or prime minister will work. You're right, usually it is the biggest, most important city in the country, but in many cases it isn't. Often when we think of America, people might think of New York City, but of course Washington, which is a much smaller city, is the capital. And then there's other places like Brazil. Do you know the capital of Brazil?
Rio de Janeiro.
Brasilia, which is a small city. They built it in the middle of the jungle. It's not a really great place to go, although it has beautiful buildings, very interesting buildings. But of course, people would go to Rio, they might go to Sao Paulo. And often when we talk about some of these other cities, we might use an adjective to say it's the financial capital, like New York.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Or Sao Paulo in Brazil. But the capital, when you just see capital, that's where the government is based. That's where the president works. That's where the government meets and makes laws and things like that. But you're right, it is often also the biggest city, like Dublin for Ireland or London for England and things like that. All right, so let's get back to Dublin. It's a great place to go, a great place to start your visit to Ireland. And you're right, as you said, Ireland is a wonderful place. You can start in Dublin, and it's a small country, so you can travel around it very easily, which also makes it a good choice for a holiday. But if we're spending time in Dublin, what are some of the things we can do? Well, here's the first one we recommend. Visit Trinity College, okay? A lot of people
sounds Christian.
Well, sure, it's Catholic. A lot of people have heard of Harvard University in America. They've heard of Oxford University in Britain. Well, Trinity College is the most famous and some would say the best university in Ireland. And like Harvard and Oxford, it has a long history. Trinity College Dublin was founded in 1592 and is Ireland's oldest university, and one of the older universities really in the world. The most famous part of this beautiful college is the old library. Now, what do we find there? The library houses the Book of Kells, which is an ancient collection of medieval art and stories about the life of Jesus Christ. It's one of those beautiful old Bibles that I think are called illuminated Bibles because monks hundreds of years ago spent hours and maybe even years of their life writing out the Bible by hand and then decorating some of the pages with beautiful colors and gold in some cases. So if you get a chance to see the Book of Kells, you should take it because this is a book that's also a work of art.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's cool.
And some say this library was the inspiration for Hogwarts in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter books. Yes, those are very, very famous place, huh?
Absolutely.
I think it's probably very similar. That's what I would imagine. We have the word here that's ancient. This is an adjective to describe something that happened very long time ago or something that has existed for a very, very long time. So usually when we talk about ancient, we might talk about a location or something that has been there for a long time, like a building or maybe a tree or something. Of course, we can also say a person is ancient, but I guess they would be like 100 years old would be considered an ancient person. But if it was a building or a tree, it would be thousands of years old or even more. Scientists say the ancient tree is over 5,000 years old. Now that's really ancient compared to a person. That's really ancient.
I would be very careful about calling a person ancient. Even your old grandmother or great-grandmother might say, hey, I'm not ancient. I don't belong in a museum. I'm just an elderly person.
Not dead.
So it is not really a polite word to use for people. Let's also talk about some of the ancient things you might find in a museum. Well, anything you might find in a museum might be part of the museum's collection. When we say collection, when we're talking about museums, this is basically the stuff that you see in the museum. And certain museums will focus on different things, and then they'll have collections of those things. If it's a dinosaur museum, they'll have a collection of fossils and bones from ancient dinosaurs. But if it's a toy museum, they might have collections of toys from around the world or toys from different periods of history, that kind of thing. But the stuff you actually see behind the glass mirror, behind the glass windows or inside those glass boxes in a museum, that is the museum's collection. The museum, we read here, has a large collection of art from the Middle Ages.
Ancient.
So, yeah, maybe a museum of Middle Age or Renaissance art or something like that.
And next we have the word inspiration. This is a noun from the verb inspire. That's I-N-S-P-I-R-E. So when we have ation in the end, it becomes a noun. So inspiration is something that's an idea that someone makes happen. So if I say, oh, I received an inspiration about where to go next year, that means suddenly I have an idea and I know what I want to do, where I want to go, I want to make it happen. Or maybe it's a creative person who receives an inspiration about the idea for a creative project, such as a movie or a song or something that's totally new, like maybe a designer makes a dress, a sudden idea that they want to make happen that comes from maybe they don't know where, it just comes from somewhere else, or maybe it comes from a song, maybe it comes from a person they met, it could be from anywhere that's creative. I have a sentence for you. The inspiration for this album came from the singer's experiences at military school. So what that means is maybe the singer thinks about the time, the emotions, the life there, and decides to create a song, and suddenly a melody comes up and some lyrics come up and it really connects to the fans, and maybe it's about some hard times, and that could be really useful information and inspiration for something that's creative, such as a song or a movie.
All right, guys, let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back with more of the interesting things to do in Dublin, Ireland.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这次要介绍的旅游地点是爱尔兰的首都 Dublin 都柏林，它是位于爱尔兰岛的东岸，那是个热门旅游景点。首先，我们第一站就来到了圣三一学院，它是爱尔兰历史最悠久的大学。那这所美丽的学院里面最著名的就是老图书馆，馆内有收藏凯尔书卷。它呢是一本中世纪艺术与耶稣生平故事的古老选集。而有人就说啊，这座图书馆是《哈利波特》系列书中霍格华兹的灵感来源。我们补充一下，爱尔兰它是天主教国家，那我们可以用 Catholic 这个字 ，Catholic 当形容词形容天主教的，当名词是指天主教徒。而麦克老师他在谈这个凯尔书卷的时候，他用到 illuminated， 它是拼作 ILLUMINATED， 它是形容书籍可能是装饰华美的，可能就是有那种泥金技术啊，或者是有很多彩色图绘去装饰它的那一种。好，我们再来看到单字 capital， 它是首都的意思，它其实也可以指某种活动产业集中的重要都市。Mike 老师也提到说，首都是中央政府所在地，但不见得是最大的、最重要的城市。像老师就提到巴西 Brazil。大家可能就会想到里约热内卢 Rio de Janeiro， 圣保罗 Sao Paulo， 可是它的首都其实是巴西利亚 Brasilia。那这边几个地名提供同学们参考。再看到下一个单字 ancient， 它是形容词，形容古代的、古老的。那么 collection 它表示作品集、收藏、收藏品，也可以表达一堆东西。好，那讲到博物馆的收藏，老师就提到 fossil 就是化石 FOSSIL 化石，还有呢提到 Renaissance 就表示文艺复兴。我们再来看单字 inspiration， 它表示灵感、灵感来源，或者是鼓舞、启发的意思。那写词作曲常常会需要灵感嘛 ，Rainbow 老师用到 lyric。LYRIC lyric 就表示歌词，当这个意思的时候，通常是用复数形哦。那这边两个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 be located in on 或者是 at 去表达位于什么什么。locate 当及物动词，它表示使坐落于或者是把什么设置在什么什么地方。那我们常常会用 be located 加上副词或者是介系词片语去表达它所在位置。举例来说 ，The beach is located in the north of the town。那座海滩位于城镇的北方。那第二重点，我们要来比较 found 跟 find。好 ，found 跟 find 都可以当动词来用，可是两者意思不同哦。我们先看到 found 当动词，它表示建立、成立或者是创立，它的意思就跟 establish 一样。好，那动词三态是 found、founded、founded。再来看到 find， 它当动词表示发现、找出，那它的动词三态是 find、found、found。好，那我们这边就来考考同学们是要用 find 还是 found。我们来看第一题是 His stolen bike was 空格 yesterday。他遭窃的脚踏车昨天被找到了，被找到是被动语态。那你先想想看，找到是 find 还是 found？是 find 对不对？然后你要用过去分词去配合这个被动语态，所以 find found found 在这边你就要填入 found 才对哦。好，那么第二题是 The company was 空格 in 1999， 那间公司于1999年成立，而不是在那一年被找到。好，所以成立我们是用 found 这个字，那它的三态是 found、founded、founded， 在这边一样用被动语态，我们就要填入 founded， 这样你会了吗？好，我们继续回到课文中。
2. Enjoy nature at Phoenix Park. When the weather is fine, there's nothing better than a visit to Phoenix Park, Dublin. This park is the largest walled park in Europe and has plenty to hold your interest. The Dublin Zoo is located within the park, but the zoo isn't the only place to see animals. The park has been home to a herd of wild deer since the 17th century. All right, so the second thing that we can see once we've looked around Trinity College and visited the beautiful library there, maybe you want to get outside a little bit. So this is a good thing to do next. Number 2, enjoy nature at Phoenix Park. Yeah, well, if we're enjoying nature, if we're at a park, obviously we are outside among the trees and maybe the beautiful gardens. Let's find out what to see. It says, when the weather is fine, there's nothing better than a visit to Phoenix Park, Dublin. It's a very good point to point out there that when the weather is fine, that means when the weather is nice. Dublin being in Ireland and Ireland being near England, it does rain a lot. So rainy, gray days might be the norm, might be sort of expected, but if the sun does come out, you can head to Phoenix Park. What will you see there? This park is the largest walled park in Europe and has plenty to hold your interest. Oh, okay.
That means there's a big wall around it?
There's a big wall around it. Probably, and also would mean it's probably quite in the middle of the city, quite close to the city center. I imagine that's why they would have a wall there.
Interesting. The Dublin Zoo is located within the park, but the zoo isn't the only place to see animals. There's a zoo in the park in the middle of the city. That's cool. The park has been home to a herd of wild deer since the 17th century.
Cool.
Oh, so herd is the word that we use to describe a big group of deer. This is a special word that we use for certain types of animals.
That's right, and these deer have been there for a very long time within the park. This preposition within is kind of like in. When we say something is within something, there's a bigger thing, and inside that bigger thing is something else. Exactly. We might think of standing within a certain area when you're waiting for the MRT or something like that. And of course, when you're putting your car somewhere, as the example sentence says, when you're parking a car, it's important to stay within the painted lines. Even when you're driving a car or a bicycle, it's important to drive within the lines, right? You don't just sort of weave around the road. Everyone wants to stay within the lines, stay within your area. So if it's a big boundary, if it's a border like a wall or even just painted lines on the ground, if you are in those lines, we could say you are staying or parking or driving within them. So there you go. Actually, it reminds me a lot of Regent's Park in London, which is also a big park in the middle of the city. They have a zoo there, but they don't have wild deer running around in Regent's Park, which is too bad. So far we've looked at a couple of interesting places to go. We've mentioned Trinity College, which I would say is a must-see, a must-visit location in Dublin, and Phoenix Park also sounds like a good place to go. Are you a fan of zoos?
Normally no, but if they're wild deer, I feel like I would probably want to see them because I don't really like seeing animals contained.
Yeah. Some people don't, right?
It's not very, I feel like they're not very happy, so I'm not too happy when I go and visit them, but I like it if they're wild, if they have a big area.
I think that's outside, that's just the deer in the park, so it's a bit of a separate thing. And you'd also save yourself some money. You wouldn't have to pay to go in the zoo if you're just there to see the wild deer. You can save that money for shopping or some of the other things that we might be spending money on tomorrow, because there are a couple other places to check out in Dublin, and we look forward to checking them out with you guys in tomorrow's part 2 of our article. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
下一站，我们来到凤凰公园。 天气晴朗的时候，凤凰公园是最佳造访地点。那么都柏林动物园就在这个公园里面。可是动物园并不是唯一可以看得到动物的地方哦。17世纪以来啊，凤凰公园一直都是一群野鹿的家。你可以看到野生的鹿诶。好，我们来看单字 within 这个介系词，它表示在什么什么范围内，在什么内部。那这时候老师们用到 boundary 这个字 ，boundary 这个名词表示界限。边界的意思。另外 ，Mike 老师特别聊到英国、爱尔兰的天气，阴雨绵绵呢是个常态。那他用到 norm 这个字 ，norm 可以表达常态、常规的意思。那最后来看一个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看这个重点是 be home to something， 这是表达某地拥有什么，为什么的所在地呀、栖息地。那么 home 在这边呢是当不可数名词用。举例来说 ，Iceland is home to many amazing waterfalls。冰岛拥有许多令人惊叹的瀑布。那这边一个延伸学习就是 house 当动词，它可以表达容纳、存有，或者是为什么来提供空间，为什么来提供住所的意思哦。像是 The statue is now housed in the British Museum， 那座雕像目前存放于大英博物馆里面，就好像他住在那里一样。好，那么以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Dublin is the capital of Ireland. It is located on the island's east coast, and it is a popular travel destination. Let's take a look at some things to see and do in Dublin. 1. Visit Trinity College. Trinity College Dublin was founded in 1592 and is Ireland's oldest university. The most famous part of this beautiful college is the Old Library. The library houses the Book of Kells, which is an ancient collection of medieval art and stories about the life of Jesus Christ. And some say this library was the inspiration for Hogwarts in J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter books. 2. Enjoy nature at Phoenix Park. When the weather is fine, there's nothing better than a visit to Phoenix Park, Dublin. This park is the largest walled park in Europe and has plenty to hold your interest. The Dublin Zoo is located within the park, but the zoo isn't the only place to see animals. The park has been home to a herd of wild deer since the 17th century.
The Taipei Botanical Garden is located in the center of Taipei City. The plants here are planted for research. Visitors can see over 1,300 different varieties of plants. There are ferns, aquatic plants, native plants, Chinese zodiac plants, palm trees, bamboo, and many more. Each plant has a sign describing it, while some of them even have QR codes. Visitors can scan the code to get information about the plant. Besides the many different areas, there is a picturesque lotus pond. Visitors can take a walk on the trail around the pond. In addition to seeing the plants, don't forget to visit the monuments in the garden. The Qing Chai Xing Tai was originally the guest house to imperial envoys during the Qing dynasty. It is the only Minnan-style official building in Taiwan. It is also one of the oldest buildings in Taipei. The Taipei Botanical Garden is undoubtedly a natural classroom.
See you next time!